welcome to Making Music. And today, well, this week, we have the first of two-part show of featuring the Fender Guitars Custom Shop. And it's just too big to talk about it all in one show, so we're going to do it in two parts, one this week, one next week. And to start off this week, on my right, I've got Mike Eldred, and Director of Sales and Marketing for the whole custom division, Fender Custom Shop. Yep. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, good to be here.
And then we've got Mark Blazquez, is our District Sales Manager for Fender for what, all of Northern California?
All of Northern California and parts unknown.
Parts unknown. So he's the guy who comes and sells me the stuff that Mike makes. You know, so this is kind of fun. So this is the 60th year of Fender. Fender's anniversary started in 1946 in Fullerton, California, which is where I was born, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Yeah,
that's cool.
Born in Fullerton. A year later.
No wonder you do so well with the product.
Absolutely, it's in my blood. Yeah. They put something in the water in Fullerton. So tell us about some of the history of the custom shop and how it came to be and what you're trying to do.
Well, the Fender Custom Shop was started, the idea was kicked around in 1986, and then in 1987 they shipped the first guitar, and next year is going to be our 20th anniversary, and we're excited about that. We got a lot of really great things to celebrate that coming up, but it was started by Bill Schultz, who sat down and he wanted to have something that was cutting edge, something that could cater to the artists, because the artists have specific needs, and something that he could also offer to the general public. So if somebody wanted to come to Fender and said, hey, I want to have a custom Stratocaster made, or a custom Telecaster made, or a custom P bass made, that we would provide that service. So that was the main reason why they started it. But also, Bill wanted to have a place where we could develop new ideas, where we could have, it's basically what they call a skunk works, where it's like a real high-end, high-tech R&D facility, so that we go in and we try different techniques of making and building guitars, different materials to make pickups out of, make bridges out of, things like that. So that's the reason why it was started, and it's just evolved into this bigger thing now.
Which is very cool. Now, Bill Schultz, who was our CEO until last year, when he retired at what, about 80?
Yeah.
I hate to say he's that old.
But he didn't want to go.
He didn't want to go, but Bill really rescued Fender, as it were, from the dark ages when it was almost not an American company anymore. And he did some sort of a management leverage buyout thing back in, what, 83?
Yeah, I think it was 82 or 83.
Yeah, and brought it to where we were, we had one or two models that were made in America and the rest were made overseas. And really it was a mere, shell of what it once was back in the Leo Fender days. And then Bill pretty much is credited with being the patriarch of the modern day Fender, and we owe him a lot. And I didn't know it was his conception to have the custom shop started too.
Yeah, that was his
Absolutely.
idea.
It sounds just like Bill.
Yeah,
I've known him for years.
He really did. The day that he announced his retirement, I was on vacation actually, but I was on vacation in Arizona.
Oh.
And I called in because I was going to stop and bring my family in and show them, where Daddy worked and everything.
Yeah.
And I talked to Rose Bishop there, and she said, he just announced his retirement. So I came in, and I had a T-shirt on, and I had shorts on, and I come running in his office, with my whole family, and he looks at me, he goes, what are you doing here? And I go, I came as soon as I heard. and he loved that. Yeah. But we talked for a long time, and I just told him, I go, you need to understand something. I had never told him this. And I said, you need to understand something. I started at Charvel. I was Grover Jackson's first employee ever hired. And the reason why I started there is because I was having a guitar built there. It was 1979, and I had just saved money enough to buy a Stratocaster. And I had saved all my money up. I went down, I bought this guitar for $400. I came home, I plugged in my amplifier, and I was depressed because it didn't play right, it didn't sound right. And so I went out to Charvel and I said, well, I'm just going to have a custom guitar made and had that made. And I told him, I said, and then you bought the company and you turned it around. And I've played a Fender ever since you've done that. So
absolutely.
And it was really nice to be able to tell him that, how grateful I was, not from just an employee to be able to work for that guy, but as a fan of Fender, you know, because
Absolutely.
he saved it. Like
Yeah,
you
Bill's
said.
he's a pretty huge, he's a legend in
Yeah.
the industry. I mean, you can't go anywhere without hearing stories about
Absolutely.
Bill.
And he, you know, we owe him a lot. The industry, the world owes
Absolutely.
Bill Schultz a lot. You know,
Yep.
you know, I'd love to have him on one of these shows. I'd like to do that
Yeah.
before we're done with this series. But you know, so the guitars now. I mean, the company that Bill recreated, and then the custom shop that he did create, and that you have been with for how long in the custom shop?
10 years.
10 years. So
Yeah.
you've been there for
Yeah.
a long time doing it. These guitars, as everybody's just heard, they sound great. They sound like, you know, what we used to hear, the sound that drew you to the Stratocaster when you were a pup.
Right.
You know, so tell us about how are you doing this, and what are we doing?
Well, the custom shop has two charges. We have two big, huge responsibilities. One is to maintain the rich legacy and history of Fender, and the other one is to, you know, be dynamic and pointing the company in a different direction as far as, like I talked about before, new materials, new techniques in building, you know, new pickup design, things like that. So when you talk about, I think what I'd like to talk about this first show is talk about the history and the legacy and how we're charged with preserving that, and that's where a lot of these guitars come from and where they're directed at and why they came about.
What is this? Tell us about the one you're playing.
Well, this is actually a guitar that we put together that's based on a 60s style Stratocaster, but it has some modern things. It has a 9.5-inch radius, which is a smaller radius. When you have a fingerboard and it's a small radius like this, it's very curved. And Leo, if you look at your finger, if you just hold your finger naturally, it curves like this. And so when you're playing chords, it feels very comfortable. But when you're playing solos, you don't want it to, you know, fret up because you do a lot of bending and things like that. So it's nice to have a flatter fingerboard for bending and solos and stuff. So what this has is it's in between. It's like a 9.5-inch radius, has custom voiced pickups on it, and special wiring on the back pickup. So like the Stratocaster is known for that, you know, that. But now you can roll that off a little bit so you can get a little bit more
Mellower, yeah.
controllable on that twang.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know that that's not typically on
Yeah.
a Stratocaster.
Yeah.
So that's like a custom shop detail.
When you look at it, it looks like a stock instrument, but when you get into it, it has a 5-way switch, has custom voice pickups, has a special wiring circuit, has a 9.5-inch radius, has bigger frets on it. You know, and it's been distressed, which is what we've kind of mastered down there at the custom shop, and making an old guitar or making a new guitar feel old.
Broken in.
In.
Now,
yeah.
is this one you brought or one from Guitar Showcase?
No, this is one I brought. This
Okay.
is my personal guitar that I carry
Oh,
around
cool.
with me.
Okay, so you brought it with you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and,
but we can sell these at Guitar Showcase.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's I mean, Guitar Showcase. You know, just talking about Guitar Showcase for a minute. I mean, you know, I go all over the world and talk to dealers and go visit music stores and deal with artists and things like that. And every time I talk to these people, and I'm not just telling you this, I always point out Guitar Showcase because Gary's gotten it from day one about what we do and why we do it. And a lot of people think that, you know, Fender is this big factory where the trees go in one side and the guitars come out the other side, and it just doesn't work that way.
A lot of people in the middle.
A lot of people in the middle, and
a lot of heart and soul.
a lot of, you know, the custom shop is still, we maintain a lot of the individuals that started with Fender. Abigail Ibarra, she's been there since 1956.
She did pickups back on those old guitars,
Yeah.
and she's still doing it.
She's still doing it.
And we can buy a guitar that has Abigail pickups in it
Yep.
from the custom shop, of course.
She was hired by George Fullerton, and she's hand winds pickups now. We have in her capacity where she, master builders will interface with her and just kind of say, hey, I need to have a custom pickup done for this artist, or I need to have a custom pickup done for this consumer. I'll go to her and I'll say, hey, I want you to design a set of pickups that we can put in this set or this series or something like that. So,
Well, you know, it's amazing. When I toured the Fender factory, I think just about a year ago, for one of the number of times I've been there, but the handwork that goes in, your metal shop.
yeah.
Talk about that, the machines that Leo Fender, he kind of hacked them together or you know, just kind of backyard engineered them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
I give people tours of the Fender Custom Shop, and when we get to the metal shop, I always stop them and I say, now this is what I consider the heart of Fender, this whole section, because you come in and it's just the original, a couple of the original punch presses that Leo owns or bought early on, and then all the drill presses, the Rockwell drill presses that we use to drill all the bridges, and we have the original fixture to put the bridge blocks in. All the bridge blocks are made out of 1018 cold rolled steel, same stuff we've always made it out of. We have the same fixture, and the fixture is just mangled because of the years of being used. But you start at one drill press and you go all the way down the edge. So you do the string holes, spring holes, countersink, screw holes to adjust the bridge block, all this stuff. So, and everything that's in there, hand polish, all these bridge pieces. They're on one of these guitars I brought. That bridge back there, they're all hand
done by hand.
They're all done by hand. The guy sits there with a glove, and he has a grinder, and he's going like this, and then that's all he does. Each bridge piece is done by hand.
Yeah, one at a time. It's amazing. I mean, a lot of people think that that this stuff comes from other manufacturers or whatever, but you've seen it.
I have.
You walk in and Fender, all these guitars are built by Fender.
And by hand.
Hands-on,
The handwork involved. I don't think people understand that each fret on that fingerboard is put in and hammered in by hand, and then trimmed, and then sanded off on the edges, etc. And each piece, each screw, each hole is drilled and done separately.
Yeah, we have a fixture in the custom shop to do these side dots, and what these side dots are, they have to be in a real specific place. You can't get them too high on the rosewood, you can't get them too low on the maple, and that side dot is one guy sitting there drilling,
just that
and then
little hole.
and then he puts his finger up there and he takes the wood chips out of the drill bit and goes on to the next one and goes on to the next one. It's pretty cool.
Just like they used to.
It is cool. It's very cool. And a lot of people think that, okay, today, 2006, everything, like you say, trees in one side, product out the other, like you would see overseas manufacturing or a car or something made by robots. It's not.
There are the less expensive line instruments that we make, and there's a place for that too. If I'm a 15-year-old kid and I want to get my first guitar, and you don't really, as a parent, you don't really want to have a real heavy investment into this kid, because maybe he'll start riding a skateboard next week or something. Hopefully he'll do both.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to provide that service for people as well. And,
that's right.
And those guitars are made differently, but the majority of everything that's made at the Fender facility is there's a lot of handwork that's done on it still.
Absolutely.
And we don't really need to do it that way. I mean, to be honest with you.
Oh, no, you don't have to, but it's part of the heritage.
Yeah, we could take a lot of those opportunities, like the truss rod. I mean, there's no reason why we can't have that made offshore, but it's not part of the soul of the instrument. And that's really a big thing that Leo started, Bill Schultz, carried on, and all of us now really take that very seriously.
And especially in the custom shop, when we're talking about reissues and time machines and stuff like that Mike can talk about in just a little bit. There's some stuff that he's even shown me where you wouldn't know unless you could x-ray the guitar that we had done it a certain way. There's no way to tell.
Right.
But for us, it's important that when we hand a guitar to somebody and go, this is a 62 Strat or something, that we know through and through it is, it is
people can make things look similar.
Yeah.
But there's magic involved. I mean, let's face it. I mean, that sounds funny.
And elves.
People look at me sometimes when I say that, especially the parents, and they go, magic? And I go, yeah, it's not Peter Pan or scuba dust or anything. It's the magic, the soul of the guitar. Not to mention that no two pieces of wood are alike. They're like snowflakes.
Yep.
And there is magic in wood and with the craftsmanship involved.
Mark and I were talking about this morning a little bit about the different guitars. When you pick up a guitar and you go, wow, this thing just really plays. And he was saying, every time I pick up a custom shop guitar, it feels really good and it sounds really good.
Yeah.
But I think a big part of that is, and I didn't get to finish the point with Mark today, a big part of that is when you start getting into a bunch of materials that are put together and then it turns into something. When you start getting into things like that, I firmly believe that a big part of the magic of a guitar is the people who put it together.
Absolutely.
And you've known us for a long time, Gary, and been around Bill, and just you know, the whole group of people there, it's really a family. And at the factory, it's like that too, when everybody works together, everybody you know, understands what we're doing there, and they really respect what that legacy is and what the heritage is. So
They do. I've noticed that. Even in the Mexican factory that does the lower price stuff for the kids and the beginners and so forth. I mean, they turn out a great product, and those people truly have the same respect, you know, the same reverence for the Fender brand, you know, that we see in Corona and at the custom shop as well as the factory.
Well, we go down to the Ensenada plant. Actually, a lot of people from the custom shop go down there. I go down there myself to show them, like we were doing this amp relic and stuff, and I was down there showing them. I spent 2 or 3 days down there showing them how to do it. And the way that they do it, they don't just sit there and watch you. I mean, they go out and they get like clipboards and videotape, and they videotape you doing it, and then they do it while you watch, and
they're interested.
They want to do it right. I mean, that's the thing.
I've noticed that.
And then when the stuff comes out, it's just like, it's so good.
It is good.
And I don't want to dumb it down too much for the people who do know what we're talking about, but I want to make sure that we do cover like what is relicking? What does that actually mean? What is a relic?
What is that? What you've got in your hand is a relic?
Well, I'll play Vanna White, and Mike can explain. Yes, this is a relic.
This is a 60s relic. This is a custom run, something we did specifically for Guitar Showcase. It's pretty beat up. Some dealers had come to us before when we first started doing relics. We only did one thing, and we had dealers come to us and saying, "Hey, I really like the guitar, but I just don't want it beat up that much." And then other dealers would come to us and say, "Hey, I really like the guitar, but I really want it mangled."
Yeah.
And so
make it look old.
Yeah. And so what we've done is that we took the relic thing even farther, and we created this whole thing called Time Machine. And in the Time Machine, what you get to pick from is you get to pick 3 different finishes. You get to pick new old stock, which is abbreviated NOS. NOS is what some collectors will call it, and it's when a guitar is like brand new, right out of the box, right on the showroom floor. So if it was a 60 Strat, right on the showroom, right on 1960. And then you get Closet Classic, which is if you bought the guitar brand new in 1960 and then you stuck it in your closet and you played it on the holidays or something.
Kind of like the one in your hand.
Kind of like the one I have here. So it's not a
couple dings, but nothing serious.
Nothing bad. And then relic would be, this is more of an extreme relic, but relic would be something that somebody's played, they bought it brand new in 1960 and they just played the heck out of it.
But made to the original specs, right?
Everything's made to the original specs. We took the original templates that we had. Once again, all the bridge parts, all this stuff is all punched on the same tool anyway. The pick guard's even punched on the same tool.
I've seen that, yeah.
And we even went back and found the original molds for the knobs and had them reworked so that we could use them again, and did that for all the parts that we do.
Yeah, so every one of these guitars would be painted up to be just like it did when it was on the factory showroom, and then from there it will begin its journey.
Yeah.
Now is that nitro on that one, nitro cellulose lacquer?
Yeah.
On that one, okay.
Everything that we make in the custom shop has nitro on it if it's period correct.
Right.
Period correct means that if I had a 1970 Stratocaster, it wouldn't necessarily be nitro
it would be
all over. It might have nitro in it, but it might have a urethane or a catalyzed varnish, which was called Fuller Plast back then. So that stuff's not. It's a cancer-causing agent, so we don't use it anymore.
Try not to use that.
Yeah, we don't use that.
So each period uses the proper finish that's specific to that time period.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's
proper
important.
pickups, proper hardware, proper.
Yeah. If I can I get into this body and
absolutely.
I want to show you some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Mark, if you can grab that for me.
Can we grab that?
I want to go through a little bit and show you kind of some of the detail.
Sure.
This is this guitar here is a 51 Nocaster, and it's a reproduction. When we started doing the Time Machine series,
a little bit there. Yeah.
When we started doing the Time Machine series, we didn't want to do just a 60 Strat or a 50 Stratocaster or a 50s Tele or a 60s Telecaster, because if you pick a 60 Stratocaster can be anything. It could be a 69 Strat, it could be a 1960 Strat, and anything in between. So what we wanted to do, because we're all fans and guitar players, is we wanted to pick specific years and really just nail them. So we did a 1960 Stratocaster, we did a 1956 Stratocaster, we did a 51 Nocaster, which was what they call a Nocaster. We did a 63 Telecaster and a bunch of other ones. We would pick specific years. So this is called 1951 no caster.
Right.
And the reason why they call it no caster is it's a collector's term, a guitar collector's term. An original one of these would probably go for 25, 30 grand.
More,
More?
40
No,
to 50
40
now.
to
Yeah,
50
they're
now.
getting up there, yeah.
Anyways, in 1951, Fender came out with a broadcaster. And Gretsch guitar company, drum company, they had a drum set that was called a broadcaster.
Right.
So they sent a letter to Leo and it said, cease and desist calling your electric Spanish guitar a broadcaster. So in Leo's frugalness, there you go.
Yeah.
He took the decal that said Fender broadcaster.
And just cut the broadcast.
He just took scissors and cut the broadcaster off.
Took
So
it
they
right
just
off.
say Fender on them. And so the collectors now call them no
No
casters.
casters. It didn't say broadcaster, telecaster.
Doesn't say. And then they
yeah.
changed the name to Telecaster down the road.
Which is cool, yeah.
So that was one that we wanted to do because it has a nice story.
Absolutely.
And my philosophy is the difference between a good guitar and a great guitar is the story. And
Sure.
so the broadcaster had a really great
It
story.
does.
So,
And this is the body on
So
one
this
here?
is the body. This is
Yeah.
a raw body that's we actually have this one down at the shop and we use it to go back to and refer to on and on and on. The finishing technique is different. If you
Hold
look
it
on,
sideways so we can see those pickup see
yeah, like
all
this.
the goodies, yeah.
If you see what's going on in here, you'll see some chips here. There's some white undercoat underneath here. That made it. It's actually bleaches out the wood a little bit. It makes the top coat look really nice. But what's kind of interesting about this guitar, and I'll just go through some of this stuff, because we took these apart. We took a couple of these apart, and we found some really interesting things. The pickup routes were pretty tight. This was pretty tight. So we replicated all that stuff.
Kept it tight.
Yeah, kept it tight from the
Affects
original.
tone.
Yeah,
Sure.
And then the way that they used to spray the bodies is that they would put them on nails. They'd put nails in the bodies, and it'd be like kind of like a lazy Susan thing that
Yeah,
spun
just
around.
spin it around.
And they'd spray it and all this other stuff. And then they'd take the nails out and they'd flip it around and put it on the back. So every one that we took apart had little nail holes in them, and they had I think 3 or 4 nail holes. And we'd always see the nail holes, and they would always be like here. So we put the nail holes in. Is what the
sure.
point is. So here's a nail hole here. There's one here.
Pick guard covers them, right?
There's one here, and there's one here. The pick guard covers these two.
And
The
the
bridge
bridge.
covers this one, and the control plate covers this one. You'll never see them.
Right.
Another thing that they used to do, like on the pick guard on this, you'll see there's a little wear spot here. This little wear spot from somebody, their
Right, where
fingernails or
your
whatever,
fingers
picking
would
right
be.
there. That's what the material really looks like. It's like a gray. It's not black. It's like a gray.
Right.
You
right.
see that?
Absolutely. That's
And
perfect.
so what they would do is they wanted it to look nice and
Yeah.
black because they wanted these guitars to look good on TV, you
Yeah.
know. So they would take the pick guards and they would take lacquer and clear lacquer and black lacquer, and they'd mix it 50-50, and then they'd spray the pick guards. But the way they would,
And when it wore off, it would.
yeah, and then when it
Yeah.
wore off, it looked like that. But they would set them on quart paint cans, and spray them like this. So on the back of the pick guard, there's a little halo on every single one that we open up. So we actually put the halo on the back.
Oh, really? That's there too.
Yeah, see, that's all the stuff you wouldn't know this stuff unless you knew to look for it and actually did look for it.
Well, we've got about 2 minutes left to go here
Oh,
in this
okay.
show, and then we're going
right.
to pick up next week. But
Okay.
tell us real quick about a truss rod,
Well-
or do you guys want to play another tune? What do
Well,
you-
I want to talk about truss rods, if that's okay.
okay, do it.
Here's a 1960 truss rod that we put in our 60s Stratocaster.
Uh-huh.
It's a small rod, smaller,
Very small.
has different thread on it. We had a choice here. When I sent them out to go get this rod, they came back and they said, they don't make that. It's not a standard rod size. I go, what do you mean? They go, I don't know what it is. So,
He turned it probably.
well, I don't think he did. Once again, in his frugalness, he probably bought surplus rod
Surplus.
and made some truss
There was
rods
nothing
out of it.
deliberate about it.
Yeah,
right?
Something
This was
from a
nothing
Liberty
deliberate.
ship or something, yeah.
So he made smaller truss rods for about a year, 1960 rods. So what we do is we take a standard rod, we send it out, and we get it turned down.
You do turn it down to
and
match.
then that also meant that we had to get a new anchor here. And then we had to get a new adjuster.
Sure.
And this is all buried in the neck, and you'd never see that. unless
Nobody
I
would
told
see
you.
it, but it's true to form.
Yeah, and then on the no-caster, it's a bigger rod, different anchor, 1024 thread. The adjuster's different. It has a
Single slot
single
instead of the
slat,
double.
Yeah. So what we did is we went through on this one and we replicated everything on that one too. So it's the level of complexity that we take on these, and And for us, it's really important because
That's what people don't see.
it's what people don't see, and
just-
to me, the bottom line comes down to it's all about integrity.
Absolutely.
And once again, what makes a great guitar is that I think the people who are putting it together, and when they have that kind of mindset and that kind of heart into it, I think that it really
It does.
it shows through on the
It
guitar.
does. Well, we're out of time, and I'd like to thank you guys for coming. And next week, we're going to pick up where we left off with the Fender Custom Shop. So play us a little tune here on our way out, and we'll run some credits. And thanks for joining us tonight, and please tune in next week for the conclusion of this.